Ah, it's you. Good morning, my sexy little hump bunnies. I don't know who you are. Anyway, this week's video is going to be, not very interesting. Actually, it's going to be quite technical, but you may learn something, and learning is good. You should learn. You don't know enough. Put stuff in the head, your head. Anyway, what we're going to do is, what I'm going to do, and you're going to watch me do it, is I'm going to go through the computer system of a Promaster as I'm assessing it, meaning I'm trying to find out what its general health is and what can be known about it. And in this way, you will learn something. Okay, why talk? Let's go. Okay, here we are at the van in question. This is one I bought. I've plugged in my reader into the OBD port, and I'm going to go through the various bits and pieces of data in the computer, which are called PIDs, which indicate, I don't know, performance something, data, paranormal, who the hell knows what PIDs mean. Okay, let's show how this works. This actual thing, this tablet, which I use, is called the ThinkTool Pro S, or ThinkCar is the company. Who gives a crap what it's called? They are all somewhat the same. Is that legible? I don't know. You know what? We don't have to be here at the card to do this. Let's go over here where the light is better. Let's be here at the bench. That's better. Okay, let's go through here at the bench, and we're going to scan this thing. This is an American. It's a Dodge. This particular one was built in December of 16, so it's a 17 model. It's logging in. It's doing its thing. It's beeping. There's beepage. Okay, and in a second here. All right, thank you. 16-pin connector, Dodge, 2017. Ram Promaster, whatever. Okay. Now, what it's going to do is show me the entire topology of the system. I'm going to go quick here because either you know what you're looking at or you're not, but I'm happy to explain. If you have questions, post them below, blah, blah, blah. The entire van is under a thing called the body control module, and that includes the instrument panel cluster, tire pressure monitor, the radio module, park assist module, occupant restraint, which is airbags, HVAC, which is heating and air conditioning, entertainment telematics module. Then here on CAN H is the powertrain control module. That's the engine computer, very important. The ABS system, the transmission control module, which doesn't exist on a Promaster, and the electronic parking brake, which didn't exist on a 2017 Promaster, but it's installed in the thing. Okay, with the ignition on, we're going to do a thing called a smart scan. It's going to go through each one of these systems looking for codes. You'll notice it'll come up gray for the transmission control module because that doesn't exist. It's all done within the engine computer. 3 in the body control, none in the panel, none in the ABS, none in the airbags, 4 in the tire pressure, and 1 in the electrical telematics. Well, let's go through them quickly. Like I say, this video is more, okay, we've got a bad microphone in the Bluetooth thing, which lives in up by the lights in your console. Tire pressure monitoring. Come on. Sensor off, sensor location undetermined, CAN missing message, and body control missing messages. What this basically means, this is for the tire pressure monitoring system, and it's telling me that these two active codes, any of these codes have a sort of a status, active, pending, or stored. Those have different names. Stored is sometimes called permanent codes in other scanners, but whatever. It means that these two codes are active. The computer, when it starts up, when you turn the key, it runs all these system checks, and it comes back with that it can't determine the front and rear tire pressure sensors, and the bus is off. This probably tells me that the problem is with the receiving antenna, maybe wiring to it or something, whatever. These two stored codes could have been stored anytime the power is disconnected, whatever. Who cares? I don't care about that. I know the tires are round on the top and flat on the bottom. Telematics, microphone, we did that. Body control is 3 codes. Marker lights, current below threshold. These 2 of these are active and that's stored. These 2 codes in the body control module. I should also point out at this point that all these codes have a prefix before them, a letter. The commercial grade scanner that you might borrow at AutoZone, or if you use one of these little things and a phone app, will only read P codes, which are powertrain codes. And so you wouldn't be able to see this stuff unless you went to a real shop and they use their scanner. But the important part is that all these computer systems have codes just like your regular check engine light code. In this particular case, in the body, these codes for turn signals probably have to do with maybe somebody replaced an LED battery in this van, or an LED bulb in this van, and it's reading it wrong. I don't know. I don't care. They work. Okay. let's go into the powertrain control module. This is the procedure, generally speaking, when I first get a van or a customer brings a van, and I'm just trying to get a general indication of its health. This particular van, I happen to know, this is my van, I bought it, has a single cylinder misfire, and it has a host of other problems, which I may outline later in this video. I don't know, but let's read some data, shall we? Or actually first, whoops, let's go back and make sure and see if it has any codes. Damn it, I don't know my own strength. Thank you. Thank you. Read fault codes. I have just cleared this a little while, so there are no DTCs, diagnostic trouble codes, stored, but that doesn't mean there won't be any. Let's read some data, all right? This engine is warm, so I can read long-term on bank 1, which is the rear bank, and I can read the sensor voltages and the short-term on bank 1. We'll go over here to bank 2, 2 of 1 long-term, 2 of 1 short-term, and sensor volts. This is oxygen sensor and fuel trims, which I'll explain as we go. AC high side pressure is important to me as assessing a van, as it'll tell me the health of the air conditioning system. This is a very important one that I wish everybody could read. Actual line pressure. This is the pressure coming off the transmission pump, and it will give you a very good indication of the transmission health. As you can see, ambient temps, various things, spark stuff. Most of the things, like something like cam sync state, yeah, you'd want to know if your cam and crank weren't in sync, but it would have a code for that if they weren't. So a lot of stuff you can ignore. There's the crank sync state as it's synced to the cam. Desired line pressure, that'll just show me what the engine wants. Engine coolant temperature, that's exciting. Engine oil temperature, don't care because it's based on the... oh, this is important. We'll talk about that. I'm going to look at these values. This is exhaust cam 1 crank difference and exhaust cam 2 crank difference. I'll show you why. I'll explain as I go. What else can I pull up? I want to see all 6 injector pulse widths. Looking for an anomalous injector. I want to see the intake cam and crank differences. I want to see, I don't care about the knock sensors. These are some of the solenoids in the transmission that you can monitor. Oil pressure, that's exciting. I want to know that. I don't need to know the present gear. I know it's in park. All right, knock retard. Target gear, tire, throttle position sensor things. Again, this is what a tech goes through to make diagnostics when there is a problem, but as I'm just assessing. Okay, so if I call these up, those things that I've selected, it's going to show me all of them, but let's get it running so we can see them in real time. I can kind of confirm this thing has a misfire because of how lopey it cranks, but nonetheless, this is your AC high side pressure. One way I ascertain the health of this air conditioning system is I'll go turn it on. Okay, that's max AC on, and you should see the air conditioning pressure, the high side pressure, climb to about 275, 280, and then the fan will kick on to drop it back down. I suppose we could wait. We're watching that go, as you could see. Can I do this? Could I select one? No, I guess not. I can graph them all, not just one. But anyway, once that gets up to about 280 PSI, fan should kick on, and then it'll drop back down to... There's your fan. It'll drop back down to 170 or so. And then it'll repeat the cycle again. I'm going to go turn it off because I don't want to listen to it. Okay, moving along. This is a very important PID that I wish everybody could read. Actual line pressure of the transmission pump and the desired line pressure. In idle, or in park rather, it should be about, it's commanding 135, and it's putting out good pressure, right about 130 or thereabouts. It won't code until it gets down to about 90, but this one data point gives you kind of an indication of the health of your pump, and it also would tell you something about the health of your transmission filter. But hey, you can't read it, only I can read it. All right, engine coolant temperature, it was already warm, so it's coming up. I pull up this PID, the engine coolant temperature voltage, because it tells me when the engine is about 200 degrees, that voltage will be about 0.8 volts. It just tells me that the health of the temp sensor for the engine is working. I can tell you, judging from 180, that that's about the right voltage. So I know that the wiring to the temp sensor is good, and so on and so forth. These exhaust cam differences, a little bit high, should be closer to 2 or 3 degrees. May indicate to me that this thing has a stretch timing chain or some other valve train issue, but we don't really know yet. All right, looking at these injection pulse lists for all 6 cylinders, I see that they're all... Well, I see something interesting here. So bank or cylinder 1, 3, and 5 are on the rear bank, and cylinder 2, 4, and 6 are on the front bank. If you compare the front bank numbers, they're similar. If you compare the rear bank numbers, they're similar. But they're different from each other. You'll notice it's about 100 milliseconds off from one bank to the other. This implies that perhaps there's a vacuum leak. Perhaps. Usually it'll code for that distinctly, but I don't know. You never know. This particular van, I can tell you, has a cylinder 6 misfire, which we'll investigate here in a second. Intake cam crank difference for the intake cams. Like I say, I don't think it'll code until it gets over 10 degrees, but I don't know, that's within range. Oil pressure, because it's warm, perfectly good. What I can also do with this fabulous computer is graph these values, which becomes very handy. Now this is of concern, a long-term fuel trim at 13%. That actually should be coding, but it may still be in open loop mode where it's in warm-up mode until, well, it should be warmed up at 192. Interesting. What I wanted to show you here, though, was this is a graph for the rear oxygen sensor and what it does as it goes through its cycle. What it's doing is it's swinging from roughly 0.1 to 0.9 volts, and it's trying to find 0.5 volts, which the sensor is designed for that to be the perfect air-fuel ratio, 14.6 parts of air to 1 part of fuel. And it swings across that, and that's how it determines what the ratio is. If I were to rev it up, it'll do weird things. Watch. Now that's interesting. It's going and it's sticking there, even though, that would kind of indicate that maybe there is a vacuum leak on that bank, because it's drawing in unmetered air. That should drop back down to a normal swing cycle pretty quick. But anyway, this data is the kind of thing that a mechanic interprets. If only I was such a mechanic. What the hell is happening with short term on bank 1? And this thing smells like it's got a bad cat. I don't know. I don't know what explains that flat line. All right, well, we have some work to do on this van, but the important part is that I can compare the voltage, these voltage ramps. Bank 2 did it also at flatline. That's interesting. But I can compare the oxygen sensor values from both banks. Blah, blah, blah. Let's move on. Is there anything else to know here? Actual line pressure still good. ACI side. All right, let's go back. Let's just look at this as data. But anyway, those points are basically the bulk of the things I look at when you bring a van to me and I want to get just a general idea of what its health is like. There's one other thing I can look at while I'm here. In another section of the computer is a PID, at least in this machine, for which cylinder is misfiring. I need that. Okay, so cylinder 6 is misfiring a little bit. Let's rev it up and see what she does. You may have noticed that the engine is rev limited to around 3,000 RPM when it's in park. It won't let you rev it up to 6 grand and blow it up. Its misfires are doing strange things. I bet it hasn't even coded yet, because that's got to be under the threshold for coding. Nope, has not coded yet. Interesting. All right, well, that's what we've learned. While we're here, let's check out the rest of this van, which is definitely has problems, because the exhaust is smoking, and there's other misfire events that seem to come and go. I don't know. All right. Well, I'm assessing your van, and this isn't comprehensive, but I'm here to look anyway. So you can't smell it, but I can smell it. It's clearly smoking. Maybe you can see it. It may be smoking because people have worked on it. Tons of shit on this engine is loose. The oil cooler's not leaking. That's exciting. The whole, I don't know if you can see, but the engine is shaking because it's got misfires. And it is pouring off smoke there, and the brackets are off of it. And I don't see any coolant leaks and I don't see any coolant loss. The thermostat is open because that's getting warm. These feel like they're pressurizing, but why don't I have any heat? It's missing this rubber piece of trim. Don't care about that. I can tell you that this one had a wiring problem with the wipers at one point because that wiring is exposed. Cap is missing. None of this shit is even bolted on. The air cleaner lid is loose. So I got a lot of work to do. Somebody's been here before and determined that they wanted to sell it to me, which is fine. Great. I can fix all that shit. Is it drink? It's got a rebuilt transmission in it. I know that because it's got a green Reman sticker on it. And if I clean that sticker off, it'll tell me when it was rebuilt. That's exciting. Anyway. Here, let's take the whole tour. Alright, this van is kind of fun because it was... This van is kind of fun because it's always been an Expediter. This is one of the vans built by Red's Customs in Indiana. He does a lot of vans. I think that's all he does. But anyway, as you can see, cabinetry, microwave, that worked off a battery box, which lives here, which just had lead acid batteries in it. This battery box here came with a mattress. This bed folds up because sometimes you get a lot of cargo. What you can see is an Expediter. We strap to the floor, and if it won't fit between the wheel wells, it's unusable space. So you got a lot there. You got more cabinets there. Part of the deal with me was that the roof air conditioner stays, but Red has put plywood over that, and I will do something fancy with that. And there's another cabinet there. But the walls, what's nice is I've never met Red, and I'm not an endorsee or anything, but he does nice work, is that because this is all he does, he can do this well, and I believe there's some kind of fiberglass fill behind there, which will decrease noise and help with insulation. The curtain comes off, but this is an extended, and it will make a very nice van for someone or other once I get the engine thing sorted out. It's hard to find a customer who's not afraid of the 800,000 miles, but smart ones know that as long as everything's good and refurbished, and as long as I stand behind it, that maybe it's a good deal. They may save $20,000 or $30,000 on their purchase. Okay, well that concludes the tour of that, and that's how I kind of assess a van. Pretty exciting, you know, data, numbers, computers, electronics, technology, all the good things in life. Anyway, I would suspect that this particular van, I may not even try and figure out what's exactly wrong with it, because it turns out, you didn't see in the video, but it has 630-some thousand miles on it, and I would probably just replace the engine with a bulletproof engine and get it ready for sale to some lucky gal who has just saved $30,000 or $40,000 off the price of a new one. And there you go. Or to an Expediter who wants to put it back in service and make money with it. Well, it's been fun, and I hope you've learned something, and more videos will be coming. On a personal note, now that we're not doing as many repairs, or at least not so much 80-hour-a-week panic as we were, I hope to make more videos and spread the love. Spread my love all over the internet, baby. Who would want to do that? Okay, speaking of love, I love you. It's you that I love. Let's cuddle. Let there be much cupping. Bye.